Smoking Glass Hour believes in giving back and giving credit where credit is due. Our number one goal is to make a difference. The music you hear on the Smoking Glass Hour comes from Purple Planet Music. They can be found at www.purple-planet.com. Go check them out.
We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from you. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Catch us at www.thesmokingglasshour.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Thursday night, March the 3rd of 2016. We know that Super Tuesday is now over. We know that a lot of people are drowned out with hearing about Super Tuesday. So Monday night, we talked about Super Tuesday. Some of the other nights, like Tuesday, Wednesday, and tonight, we explained to everybody about Super Tuesday, told them what Super Tuesday was about, how important it was, and so forth and so on. So tonight we're going to talk about Super Tuesday is over. Where do we go from here? But before I do that, I want to recognize that screen from the center rather, is out there live listening, going to join me in co-hosting Mr. Dave Lamont. We know that Dave was out there caucusing the other night. We know that Bernie Sanders didn't do as well as we wanted him to do. However, Bernie is still in the race, but being a realist and accepting reality, the roadmap for Bernie to take the nominee is getting harder and harder. So if you are a Bernie Sanders supporter, you need to do all you can while you can, because before it's over with, Hillary Clinton will end up getting the nominee. But before we talk about any of that, for those listeners that are out there locally tonight, we know that next month, Coward Parish school system will be faced with a millage renewal. And it is a renewal. It's not anything different than what you're already paying now. It is a renewal. However, on the ballot, it will read something like a continuation. And that's just a legal language and or legal terminology that's used. So the renewal / continuation is going to be the same. It's not a new tax. And before you consider not voting for it, Caldwell Parish is a B school district. A B school district, 2 top gain schools, and the renewal supports maintenance and general fund operations of our schools. So we're asking that you consider voting yes on April the 9th of 2016. But before I leave that, let me make sure that everybody understand that there is a disclaimer. Caldwell Parish School System or any of its affiliates have absolutely nothing to do with this broadcast or this advertising. It is specifically by the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, which I am not broadcasting as a school board member of any kind. I am broadcasting as an individual taxpayer here in Caldwell Parish. Also, if you are if you are at $75,000 or less, that means that you are under homestead exemption. So, if you are under homestead exemption, this renewal costs you absolutely $0. Absolutely $0. So if you feel that our kids, the future generation, is important, why don't you consider going out and voting yes to continue the school system's thrive to remain a B district and hopefully at some point becoming an A district. Here's the deal. If this renewal is not passed, we will have to make, or the school system will have to make, a $500,000 cut, which means that's about 10 employees, which it may be broken down into 5 support workers or 5 teachers or whatever the case may be. So once again, we're not focused on the tax or the renewal or the millage not passing. We're focused on the renewal of the millage passing so we can continue to move forward. So once again, Colorado Parish School System will be faced with a millage renewal on April the 9th of 2016. So if you're out there listening, you share the broadcast, or you go back and listen to the archives, please continue supporting the millage renewal for Colorado Parish School System. Mr. Dave Lamont, Screens from the Center. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Dave. Just had to get a little information out tonight. Let me ask you this, Dave. We know that...
I hope it passes.
Say it again, Dave?
All right. I was just saying good luck with that. I hope it passes for you.
Oh, yeah, Dave. We appreciate it all the way from, is it Ohio, Dave, Missouri? Where you hailing from?
Colorado.
Colorado, yeah. So, Dave, we know that you have been broadcasting a lot on Blab, Periscope, and your YouTubes and all this, that, and the other. And we're both trying to make sure that our voices are heard abroad. We're not trying to be Sean Hannity, Al Sharpton, MSNBC, Fox News, or any of those other mainstream affiliates. What we're trying to do is get positive, the most accurate information out there, not trying to distort the message or divide the people. We're just trying to make a difference in our communities so the future generation will be in a better in a better situation and or condition than what we're in now. So, Dave, let's talk about a little bit about Super Tuesday. Tell us what you think happened and where do we go from here?
Okay, so I did a show on Super Tuesday as well, mostly the Bernie Sanders perspective, and there's a few things that I'm taking away from that. First off, Sanders actually has gotten hit hard in the last 2 voting cycles that we've had. We can't deny that sort of thing. His campaign has a harder job to do today than it did 2 weeks ago. It seems that Sanders' campaign is missing 2 elements. Right now, African Americans, particularly in the South, are voting 80% plus for Clinton, and people under 40 are not showing up to the polls. If either of these 2 conditions change, then the Sanders campaign will leapfrog ahead of Clinton. But until one of those 2 or both of those conditions change, he's going to continually be trying to climb out of this hole. The other takeaway is most of these were southern states, which we're going to have to be honest here, are not states that are going to vote for either Clinton or Sanders as a whole in the general election. So they're only relevant here in the primary. So people who are supporting Bernie Sanders don't need to be discouraged by the fact that he lost a lot of southern states, because as relevance goes in a general election, that won't be too big of a deal. He also needs to, he does need to start winning states, and the outlook is pretty good for him from here out. There's a few more southern states voting on March 5th. That's in a couple of days. Then we go into some northern states again, and then the big one of the big races is going to be March 15th. This is going to be kind of a make or break. He's got to do really well by that time, and including that race, or he's going to be in severe trouble. Now, with that being said, the actual count of delegates is a lot closer than people tend to think. Because right now the media is putting out that that Hillary has over 1,000 delegates and Bernie's in the 400. Don't pay any attention to that. It's not true. That's including the super delegates, which are not committed, and they don't vote until the convention. So the official count as of right now is 601 delegates elected to Hillary Clinton and 409 elected Bernie Sanders. That's less than 10% difference between the two towards the end goal of 2,383 delegates. So with that in mind, the race is actually a lot closer than what people are making it out to be.
Right.
That's eye-opening.
Yeah, Dave, not meaning to cut you off, but just to interject a little, we know that from here on out, those delegates are awarded proportionally, and that's the only concern that I have, is because if Hillary wins, or if Bernie wins, he's going to have to win at a significant amount as far as a percentage-wise to gain more of the delegates. And I think that's the one key issue that we need to make sure that we continue to let people understand. Now, he's not in that bad of shape right now, but if it continues to go the way that it is, then we're going to be looking at a deficit that's going to be too complicated to actually overcome. So relative to that, Dave, what did you guys see when you were out there caucusing regarding to maybe inconsistencies or laws being broken, or how was the voting in your area with regards to the millennials, which are supposed to be the ones that's going to put Bernie over the top? What do you think about that?
So I was in a room with several different precincts, and the thing that I noticed was that most of the people there were in their 40s and old. So the main thing to take away from in caucusing is it appears as though older people are the ones showing up. We are not getting younger people.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing in caucuses is they have been so far, I've heard reporting from Iowa, and I've heard reporting from Nevada, and I've confirmed it in my own caucusing, that it is a confused, jumbled, and unorganized system.
Mm-hmm.
While they put us in rooms that were our general area, several of our precincts together, nobody exactly knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Had an elected official come in and discuss a few things, and there was someone who was previously a precinct chairperson who knew a little bit about what was going on, but she essentially had to teach all of the new precinct chair people how to do the job kind of on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an extremely disorganized process.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a testament. I've said it several times that we've got to get away from caucus systems in any of the states because they're not very accurate. Mm-hmm. And that's reflected in all the caucuses that have happened so far.
Right. So, Dave, let's talk a little bit about some of the Facebook, I guess you would call it advertising or marketing or whatever. Is there any validation or proof to Bill Clinton out in, I believe, Massachusetts, blocking individuals from voting? Have you been able to hear anything about that, or can give any type of confirmation on that? And if so, what's the next step toward eliminating that from happening again?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, the incident involved Bill Clinton visiting 4 polling centers. And of course, Bill Clinton, being a former president, has a Secret Service detachment, and that always creates issues. Now, what I can't discern is if there was any kind of political motivation or goal other than showing up at the area to be out there for everybody. There's no sign that it was done maliciously, but it did show poor judgment, I think, on the Clinton's part.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying not to be, I try not to be too judgmental. I
Right.
try to take everything at face value.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm getting from the reports that I've seen, is that if we call it anything, we call it poor judgment. I don't think that there's anything malicious in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, Dave, and that's one of the good things about bringing screens from the center on. You always try to be fair and balanced, even if the information is going against your candidate or your position, you've always tried to be fair about the situation. And I'm glad that we're able to connect and bring you on and allow you to host, co-host, whatever the case may be. But we want to make sure that we can at least provide, information that people can take back and understand, what's going on. So let's look at where we go from here. The thing about it is we know that Sanders is having some difficulties. And when I say difficulties, I'm talking about, the mainstream media not giving him coverage and things like that. But I did see, I believe, Fox News, I'm not sure how valid this is, Fox News is going to, even after tonight, they're going to stay in the area where they're at with the debate tonight, or the town hall meeting, and they're going to bring Bernie on. And I think they said they're bringing Bernie on without Senator Clinton. Is there any truth or validity to that, as you have heard?
I'll be honest, I haven't heard anything either way on that from any of the news feeds that I get, and I don't have cable, so I don't actually watch any of the network news anymore.
Okay.
I haven't for quite a number of years, because they're just, quite frankly, don't deliver anything of value, in my opinion. So I'm hoping that they do give him a shot. I think what's interesting about the idea of him going on Fox, and I know Sanders has been on Fox before, is that he's not afraid to do something like that. He's quite competent and capable of handling lines of questioning that they may have, and I think it's a good opportunity to show Trump supporters what a candidate like Bernie Sanders brings to the table. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a great idea for Bernie Sanders. If they're going to give him that exposure, I say go for it. Yeah. Okay,
Dave. Let's look at this great bombshell that just happened today with Mitt Romney coming out. What do you think about all of that stuff?
All right. Well, that's very interesting, and what we have to do when we have to look at this in perspective. Right now, Donald Trump has 329 delegates. Now, the Republicans need 1237 to get the nomination. And his second place guy is 231, that's Ted Cruz. So what that is that there is a small margin between the first and second, and then the second and third guy, which is Marco Rubio. So looking at the numbers of the states, in every state that Donald Trump won, he won less than 50% of the vote. And except for two states, he won less than 40% of the vote. So Mitt Romney coming out, I think, is the establishment, the GOP, trying to make the case to keep Rubio and Cruz and possibly Kasich in the race, because they continue to draw nearly 60 to 70% of the vote away from Donald Trump. What that means is that Donald Trump is pulling 30 to 40% all the way up to the convention. He's going to have a plurality of delegates, but not a majority, which means that it's a brokered convention.
Right.
Donald Trump is finished, even though he got the most votes.
Right.
That's why I think Mitt Romney's coming out. Now, whether or not he's throwing his hand, throwing himself into the race at a brokered convention by coming out, or whether or not he's just supporting, say, Marco Rubio, that is definitely what I see happening with Mitt Romney coming out and saying these things about Donald Trump. And I find it fascinating, and I say bring it on. Okay,
Dave, let me ask you this. I'm not sure if anybody has done any polling with the Democratic Party outside of those who are running. Let's look at Mitt Romney getting in, or Paul Ryan. Do we have any polling or anything that suggests how hopefully Bernie gets the nomination, but if not, Hillary from the Democratic side? How does it look with regards to polling as far as the numbers winning versus losing in the November general election?
No, there's been no polling about, say, Romney getting into the race. The only mention about it was back last year, I think around October, when Ann Coulter, of all people, said that if Mitt Romney ran in this election, he would win the nomination and probably the presidency. And I actually find myself sort of agreeing with her in some ways. I think Mitt Romney has one of the better shots at winning the presidency. Mm-hmm. But again, since he's not a formal candidate, right now he would be brought in at a brokered convention. So if Mitt Romney is intending to put his foot into the race, what he needs to do is ensure that Donald Trump does not get 50% of the delegates.
Well,
he's going to have a shot.
Yeah, but I think, Dave, you're correct. But if you look at the establishment which controls the party, and I have a lot of confidence in Ben Ginsburg. You know, he was one of the lead attorneys back in Bush v. Gore, along with I can't think of the other guy, Ted Olson. You know, those are two good Republican attorneys, and Ben Ginsburg even indicated that it could become a division and a broker convention. And I read somewhere moments before we came on live that Mitt Romney already has his advisors looking into what can take place to basically lock Romney out of the nomination. So I'm not sure we're on that side worried about that. But when I say worried, we want to make sure that we have enough irons in the fire to push the Democratic Party in once again. Hopefully, when I say the Democratic Party, it's Bernie Sanders. Now, when we look at Bernie moving forward, we know that Super Tuesday is basically now in the rearview mirror. But a host of primaries and caucuses in the coming days will keep the presidential campaign busy. Now, we know also that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, who are the projected front runners, basically sort of solidified their position with strong showing as of Tuesday. But leading challengers also were Trump in victories like Marco Rubio, which came in third place in every race other than one race. Now, Senator Clinton basically beat Bernie Sanders in 7 states, including Massachusetts. But we know that Sanders claimed 4 victories, and he's basically up until now pledged to march on to the convention. Now, Sanders has also indicated that his message is resonating with the people. He also said that we stand together, and he feels that they will be victorious. Now, with regards to being victorious, how can the millennials, that younger generation, be motivated to get actively involved and go out and vote just like those younger generations? Because for those who are out there listening on the line and listening on Spreaker.com as well as Blog Talk Radio, and will go back and listen to YouTube, TuneIn, and iTunes along with the archive shows, I want to make sure that, Dave, that we can provide as much information as possible to engage, encourage, and or inspire people to get involved, because we need those millennials to get up off of their rear ends and get on their feet and go out and vote. Get on their feet rather and go out and vote. So how do you feel that is going to take place, and what is it that Screens from the Center, the Smoking Glass Hour, Pastor A.F. Riggins, and all those others that are out there doing internet streaming radio, how can we help move this message?
Well, you've nailed it right on the head. The millennials just have to get out. So we have to motivate them. We have to make them understand that the political process doesn't work if you don't play. You cannot win if you don't play. And I think if we relate in terms that are familiar, we can get that message across. And that's, I think, one of the most powerful messages. You cannot win if you do not play. And right now, the millennials are not playing. So what we have to do is convince them that there is a point to the process. There is the inevitability of Clinton, the inevitability of Trump are not so solid. Because again, Trump is only winning by a little over 100 delegates. Clinton is only winning by less than 200 delegates. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to play. You have to play the game. It's not a hard process. You take just a little bit of time, bring your smartphone, play some games while you're waiting in line, and get out there and vote. Caucusing is confusing, but it's also fun. It's a nice way to meet people, and it's a great way to get involved because you know the people around you now, and you can relate to them, and everybody can share stories, and that's something that a lot of people can enjoy. So just get out there and vote. You cannot win if you do not play, and that's what I think we have to drive home to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dave, when we look at what you basically just said, we know that the millennials will be affected more than the baby boomers because we're looking and talking about affordable health care, for the future. So it's very important that those the millennials they get involved. And I've heard, David, I've had the debate. People talking about their insurance premium have gone up. And, my dissent has been, whether you're paying a higher premium now or you're paying when all of these other people were going to the emergency room for free, that cost had to be associated to some people. And it was, again, to the taxpayer. So regardless as to what happens and what takes place, the millennials are going to be affected. Now, if they do not go out and vote, and there are very good ways now, Dave, that they can do it. You don't even have to go into a voter registration place. You can. Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody's got a computer or tablet or something that's electronic that's hooked to modern technology. You can actually register to vote right online. You can, in some states, many states, you can register to vote when you're 16, but you can't vote until you actually turn 18, but you can already be in the process. When we look at Colorado, what is it, Dave, that screens from the center along with anybody else that's in Colorado? What is it that you guys are doing to try to motivate and get these millennials to understand that if you can go out to the club and every weekend, you can stand in line for an hour or two and cast your vote?
So one of the beauties of living in Colorado is we have mail-in ballots. Now, we also have in-person voting, but we're only one of 3 states that even offer this. And the boon of mail-in ballots is that it gets more people involved. Oregon has seen, since it initiated mail-in voting, mandatory mail-in voting. Basically, once you turn 18, you're automatically registered to vote through the DMV, and they mail you a ballot. They have seen turnout 2 to 3 times higher than they did when they were doing in-person voting.
Uh-huh.
So that, I think, is the key, and that's something we need to do at the local level. So what I encourage people to do is, if particularly on the Democrat side, the way the system works, contact your local Democratic office and see if there's a position available called a precinct chairperson.
Uh-huh.
Because what that position does, or get in touch with that person, because what they do is they are the people who make the policy at the local level for the Democratic Party. And if we get enough of those precinct chair people to push in any state mail-in ballots, then the Democrat Party as a whole is going to support that idea. And that alone is a great way to get millennials and people who are just busy and can't do the normal type of voting to get out there. And I think that's going to be the method of the 21st century to get out the vote, is to try and get those mail-in ballot laws passed in other states.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's a big factor.
Okay, so what I don't understand is this, Dave. We know that the baby boomers are now having, their kids or grandkids now. Do you feel that the baby boomers, are stressing voted enough, or they've gotten to the point where they just don't care about voting. They're not stressing voting to their kids. What do we see the quote unquote the chemical imbalance, I'll say, or the voting imbalance with regards to people encouraging other people to go and vote? Or do you feel that people have gotten to the point now to where they feel like voting is bought? Citizen United calls that, so why should we go out and vote when corporations and millionaires and billionaires are buying these people anyway? What do you think about that, Dave?
Well, this is where I take the blame for this sort of thing, my generation to be specific. And I think voter apathy started when my generation became a voting age. We had, the elections of the second election of Reagan, which was, this crazy landslide. We had the Bush administration, and then we had the whole fiasco with the Clinton and Perot that split the vote, Ralph Nader, all that kind of stuff. So it made us a bit apathetic in my generation. And now the people who are in my generation have children that are of voting age or coming close to voting age. And I think that mentality was passed on to the millennial generation and enhanced by their own anguish and apathy. So I think you're seeing basically that the millennials were not ever motivated to be politically active because we, in my generation, were not politically active. And that's going to mean a skipped generation if we don't find a way to turn it around.
Well, again, Dave, I just get, I get a little frustrated because I see, the younger generation just walking around. They don't understand that with Democrats, jobs are created. With Democrats, social issues are on the table. With Democrats, social justice, equal rights, current events, and all of those things are brought on the table. And when we look at the GOP side, there's always wars. There's always higher, taxes that are tax breaks for the rich. So when you look at what affects the millennials, unless they're born rich, college debt is going to be an issue. Bernie Sanders is really talking about that. I thought about what you said the other night in the broadcast, Dave, to where if Hillary is the nominee and end up being the president, then forcing her to do coming to or going further to the left with regards to the progressive movement, that might be something that's on the table. And if she does not do that, then she's a one-termer. How do you see that?
I think that's already been happening just by the inclusion of a Bernie Sanders making a strong showing. So win or lose, I think what we've accomplished with the Bernie Sanders movement is we have already made Hillary Clinton position herself in a way that she was reluctant to. Because right at the beginning and in the first debate, he essentially said, I am Barack Obama's third term. Mm-hmm. And today, he's fighting with Bernie Sanders over the idea of who is the most progressive. Now, if that's not significant progress on Hillary Clinton, whether she's just saying that or not, she is saying it at least. It's getting out there. The information's getting out there. And young people can hear this through places like here on Smoking Glass Hour, on our Blabs. I get a lot of young people on Blabs, much younger than me, coming on and discussing these issues. So the narrative is getting out there, and people are seeing that Hillary Clinton is being pushed to the left. We just need to, if she wins, to continue doing that sort of thing. We need to continue pressuring her to act or at least discuss that, because even if she governs from the center or center-right, like many of us suspect she will, if she's telling us progressive ideals, that will resonate in future voters, and that will get them out to vote and we will move the country more towards the center left.
Uh-huh. Well, what about those, Dave, who may cross over from the Republican Party that feels that Bill would be occupying the White House again, or those who really don't like Trump? They don't want to vote for Trump, but they don't want to vote for Hillary. What type of logic can we put out there to convey that, should she win? But again, I don't want my listeners and those who are supporting Bernie to feel like because he's down, we're counting him out. That's not what I'm saying, because I believe that if it came down to Bernie versus any of the other candidates, most people are getting comfortable or more comfortable with the term socialist. And my dissent on that, Dave, has been this. I'm no more of a socialist voting for Bernie Sanders than you are a racist voting for Donald Trump. So that doesn't cut the mustard. My issue is that he stands for the things that I've always stood for, and he's not afraid to speak out on those things, even against the establishment, the millionaires, and all of those things. Now, Hillary, once again, is in too deep, and I understand the philosophy that should Bernie not win, people should, get around and, get with Hillary. Let me ask you this. What do you think about the server guy now being given immunity by the FBI? How do you think that will play out, Dave?
Well, this is going to be this is what the Republicans are counting on. They want Hillary Clinton to win the nomination so that people like Trey Gowdy and his political action committee that he formed using congressional resources can come out in October and essentially say, we didn't find anything wrong with Hillary Clinton in all of these scandals that we're investigating, but we think it's rather dubious. So you should you should be careful about that. And they're doing it just to attack Hillary Clinton. Andrew McCarthy, the number 2 guy in the House of Representatives, has said that the Benghazi Committee is there to bring Hillary's numbers down. So that's the strategy. Strategy is to use the press to make Hillary Clinton the nominee and then attack her on the scandals in the hope that having their October surprise of the Trey Gowdy Committee implying that Hillary Clinton did something wrong but having no proof is going to be enough to convince people to vote for the Republican candidate. So what we need to do is, if Donald Trump is the nominee, we need to point out to Republicans that essentially he is not on their side. Because Donald Trump, just in the last week, has talked again about supporting the idea of single-payer health care. And this is something that is anathema to Republicans.
Right.
They absolutely hate it. So we need to play off of these things that Donald Trump is saying, because he also has said that he supports the idea of Planned Parenthood. He wants to ban abortion,
right?
Supports Planned Parenthood, which Republicans can't dissociate the two from each other. So to them, abortion is Planned Parenthood. So these are interesting things to confuse them and possibly have them either switch over to the other side or even not show up at the polls. And that's going to affect the Republicans at the top of the ticket and down balloting. You may even see some states flip over something like a Trump candidacy. I really don't think that he's the kind of a candidate that's going to necessarily sail into the White House, as a lot of his supporters seem to think.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, if you don't mind, we're looking at about 8:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight, I'm joined by Mr. Dave Lamont, screened from the center out of Colorado. We're going to take a short commercial break. Dave, just hold the line. Mute your phone if you need to. Any housekeeping you need to get done, and we'll be right back.
You know,
What's
people
up,
always
B?
ask me why I do what I do. It was the teaching of my mother, who taught me how to be strong and never waver when it comes to what I believe in as a man. She taught me that If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Here at WMAD Radio, the goal is to stand for something and make a difference in the world while I still have that chance. Thanks to my mother for all she has done for me. Join the WMAD team where we can make a difference in the world today.
Does Stokey Stokes sell cars that are high mileage with no warranty? Stokey Stokes, if my credit is bad, should I just give up? What if I have a co-signer? What if I still owe money on the car? What if I have a pay-for trade and or money down? Can I come in? Okay! Go down and see Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia at 4600 South University and let him make you a deal. He's the deal maker. He said if you're thinking about going to another dealership for a better deal, Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia said, call him today at 501-952-2868, 501-952-2868, or go online at Steve Landers Kia Dealership in Little Rock, Arkansas. Put Anthony Stokes as your salesperson, or go by the 4600 South University Steve Landers Kia location. Anthony Stokey Stokes, the deal maker.
It's time to take back control of our society. Today's world requires an open and honest discussion about the current events. On the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, our goal is to engage people from different walks of life into a healthy discussion, creating a positive outcome. When it comes to global events, tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday nights at 7:30. We don't just listen to the news, we bring you the news.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass tonight, joined by Mr. Dave Lamont, screened from the center. You're right. Open and honest discussion is what we're having. And we believe that open and honest discussion gives individuals a better opportunity to understand what it is about life that's going on. So we're talking tonight about Super Tuesday. What happens now and where do we go from here? Now, Dave, we know that on Tuesday night, we know on Saturday rather, that there will be a debate, which is tonight. Okay, and everybody's eyeing Tuesday, which is in Michigan's primary. But before that particular race, voters again will take the stage over the weekend. We know that there are caucuses in Kansas, Kentucky, and Maine over the weekend. And we know that Nebraska and Louisiana is on the maps as well. For the Democrats, there will be a debate in Flint, Michigan, and the Democratic caucuses are held in Maine, and the Republican primary is set for Puerto Rico. As we move forward, Dave, from Super Tuesday to where do we go from here? When we look at Kansas, Michigan, and some of these other primaries, what must Bernie Sanders people do? And I'm talking about those in the trenches. I'm talking about those picking up the telephone. I'm talking about those who are on Facebook, social media, Twitter. How can they get Bernie Sanders' message out more so than mainstream media, so the more people know about Bernie, it dispels the socialist term, and it gives him an opportunity to be more known than what he is. What are you advising people to do, Dave?
They just need to talk to each other. You need to go door to door. You need to call up your local Democrat office. Find out what precinct you're in. Find out who's running the precinct. Get with them. Find out what they're doing to get the ground game going. And what you could do is you could volunteer. If you got an hour a week you could do, that's better than nothing. So, it's a matter of communication, because the media, as we know, is not going to talk about Bernie Sanders as much as they possibly can. And the two big states that we have to look at between March 5th, March 6th, and March 8th are Louisiana and Michigan. Those have the biggest delegate counts, and they can make or break Bernie Sanders going into March 15th, which is a huge, kind of a mini Super Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And I think that
go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Important showings in Louisiana and in Michigan are going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bernie Sanders has a good shot at doing well in Michigan, though he is going up against one of their former governors, who is a Clinton supporter, and she's very popular in the state.
Right.
So it's going to be an uphill battle. I don't know what the game is in Louisiana. You're probably more of an expert on that than I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to do well in Maine as well.
Right. Yeah, Dave. We know that I can't think her name right now, but I really like her, the former governor of Michigan. She's a very good governor. I thought at one what is it? What's her name?
Granholm.
Yeah, Christine. Is it Christine Granholm?
Granholm. I don't remember her.
Yeah, I can't think of what it is. For whatever reason, she had a talk show at one time on television at night, and I would watch her every night. And I thought at one time, Dave, that she might become one of the Supreme Court appointees by, Barack Obama, but that did not take place. Now, we know that Michigan, Dave, is the biggest prize. And we also know that Ohio Governor John Kasich, he's hoping for an upset, and some momentum ahead of the crucial March 15th primaries in Florida, Illinois, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio. Now, Kasich and Rubio, for whatever reason, since they feel that they are more electable than the other ones, they're going to try to pan this thing out. Let's talk a little bit about Dr. Ben Carson and whatever it is that he's doing. He had formally, suspended his campaign. Who do you think his votes would go to, Dave?
That's a good question, because I've been arguing with conservatives and Trump supporters for weeks about how the Trump vote turns out. So when people drop off out of the Republican election, what it's looking like for right now is a majority of the votes that the previous candidate that dropped out had is going toward anybody but Trump. With Carson dropping out of the race, it's an unusual one because Carson is the first possible candidate to drop out that wasn't an establishment candidate. Rena may have suggested that she wasn't. She was an outsider, but she was well supported by the establishment. Carson's going to be the first kind of independent outsider candidate to drop out of the race. Now, his vote, I think, largely, I don't know if it's a plurality or a majority, but I think that a good sizable chunk are going to go to Cruz. And the reason I say that is because Carson is a deep evangelical and Cruz is a deep evangelical. And I think Cruz is getting at least 40 to 55% of the evangelical vote right now. So that's where I think that's just going to be. I also think that some of his support is going to go toward Marco Rubio, and probably third would be Trump. So that might be enough to push Trump into the 50% category in a state, but I don't think you're going to see much movement in the polls on the Trump side. I think that's mostly going to go to Cruz, and he's going to narrow the gap between himself and Trump right now.
Right, but it seems, Dave, that I would have thought that Carson's vote would have transferred to Trump because Trump really never attacked Carson, and Trump spoke up for Carson when Cruz did his number in Iowa. So you're right. It's no way for us to tell that information. Now, who do you feel, and this is a hypothetical, who do you feel or who do you think will be the next person to actually drop out of the race?
I'm going to sound crazy when I say this.
Okay.
I think Cruz is next on the chopping block. I think Cruz would actually end up having to drop out before Kasich. And the reason is Cruz is currently, I think, the thing that's holding Trump back from sweeping the nomination. I think if right now the establishment vote is split up between Rubio and Kasich largely, and with the things that Mitt Romney has said, I think that's only going to help people like Rubio and Kasich. So the reason that I say Cruz might end up losing out is he might end up having fundraising problems if he can't show that he can close that gap for him. And maybe Carson, if Carson goes to his candidates or his delegates go the way of Cruz, that might bolster him back up. But right now, I think Cruz is kind of dead in the water, and he doesn't have a path to victory. He only has a path to prevent Trump from getting a victory. Now, the thing is, I do want Cruz to stay in because I think Cruz is what's stopping Trump from actually getting big majority wins. Mm-hmm. But I think he's stagnant. I think he's not going anywhere, and eventually his fundraising is going to suffer as a result of this stagnation. Rubio has made up a lot of lost ground, even though he's only won one state out of 15. Mm-hmm. He's just a little over 100 less than Cruz. So he's in barking distance of Cruz. All he needs to do is win a couple of places, like, say, Florida, for instance. If Rubio comes out on top in Florida or a strong second place, he's going to narrow that gap with Cruz, who's not going to do well in places like Hawaii and Mississippi. Those are places that I think Rubio will do better. Mm-hmm. And granted, I'm talking about fighting for second place, but that's what I'm seeing from the numbers, is that Cruz is a bulwark against Trump, but he's stagnant. He's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm.
So when we look at Bernie from here on out, what do you think he should do with regards to, well, let me back up. I was reading somewhere, I believe it was yesterday, that Trump has more of a revolution movement than Bernie, because more people are coming out to vote for Trump versus Sanders to a certain degree. Now that could be media hype. That could be mainstream media, or that could be the pundits, as we always say, trying to distort and divide the people. What do you think about that? Do you think Bernie is really getting his people out? Because I want to make sure that those who listen, because we have a lot of Bernie listeners out there, and I want them to be energetic, because when you just get involved in politics and you don't understand the art and the political science of politics, it's easy to get frustrated. And if you're losing the way it appears, but you're really not losing, because we've already explained how the delegates work. The super delegates could change in a whim, in a matter of minutes. So when we look at the Democratic side, it's totally different than the Republican side. So what do we need to do to get Bernie more energized? I know he raised more money than Clinton. I think it's $40-60 million or something like that. I forget the actual figure, but it was a lot of millions of dollars. I want to make sure that people on the line and listening over the broadcast can be more encouraged rather than discouraged from Super Tuesday. What can we do to encourage them, Dave?
Well, I'm going to be frank and honest here, because that's how I tend to roll. Bernie Sanders is in trouble because people are not going out to vote. People are donating to him in record numbers, and you're absolutely right. I think the number is around $36 million. And what I can't understand is why that's not translating into votes. Usually, you get a larger percentage of voters than you do when it comes to donations. So, essentially, what Bernie Sanders people have to do is get out there and vote. Grab someone else, get out there and vote. Grab 2 people, 3 people. You have to communicate to people. You have to tell them, your candidate is in trouble. If you want someone who's going to fight for universal health care, fight for education, fight for the middle class, get off your duff and get out there and vote. You cannot win if you do not play. You have to do this.
So, let me ask this, Dave. Would it be fair to say that as we move along from Super Tuesday and go to the next caucuses and primaries headed for the nominee, if the millennials do not show up for Bernie as projected, was shot in the foot?
I think we do have another hope. That's the African American vote. Right now, as I said, in the previous races, they're breaking for Hillary Clinton at 80% or more. If we can convince the African American community that while Hillary Clinton is a brand that they know and trust by large portions, that Bernie Sanders is actually someone who has proven that he is a fighter for your community. And that's critical because there's an analysis that was done and was highlighted on Tom Hartman's radio show. And he mentioned that basically it seems like Hillary Clinton is more of a brand name than a candidate amongst the African-American community.
Right.
And you can probably answer that better than I can. But my observation, particularly in that one conversation we had where you had two of your friends who were Clinton supporters and then the two of us, Pastor Riggins and...
Okay, yes, Aaron Hopkins, go ahead.
Right. So what I am curious to find out is how the African-American community, because I think that might be a more reliable group to try and break votes off from Hillary to go to Sanders. How we can get the African-American community to take an honest, fair look at Bernie Sanders going forward and make their decision from that kind of a perspective.
You know what, Dave? It's ironic that you say that because I believe it was on Monday. I had a lady in my office, an older lady in her 60s, late 60s, early 70s, who is a part of the Democratic Central Committee. She's a retired school teacher, fairly well off, and she is a staunch Democrat. And her and I were talking, and I told her that I am not supporting Hillary, and she indicated the same thing, that she's just not feeling Hillary. She's looking and leaning toward Bernie Sanders, but she's not publicly saying that. And she was an African-American lady, and you just made a light bulb. Come on, Dave. I think it's easier for because, see, the Democratic Party has branded the black vote to a certain degree and has taken it for granted. So a lot of the vote, especially the elderly vote, is basically geared toward Clinton because of what Bill did back in the 90s, what they feel Bill can do to help Hillary do the same thing. But if we start to focusing on those central issues that actually affect African Americans, like social justice, like equal rights, like women rights, like voting rights, and all those other rights that are guaranteed under the Constitution. That's how I believe we can tap into the African American vote, because Bernie is actually talking against the establishment that Hillary is now and have been a part of. So you may have tacked into something. And what we'll do, Dave, is I'm going to bring Aaron Hopkins on along with Corey Jackson, and we're going to talk about that particular conversation, and we'll title it something like, how can Bernie Sanders tap into the African-American vote that really don't understand or know enough about this guy. And I think it's up to us to let the younger generation know that, okay, not only has Bernie been talking about civil rights, he was out there fighting for civil rights back during the 60s, back during the marches, while Hillary was worshiping Goldwater, Barry Goldwater, while Hillary was getting tied into all of these other things. So, Dave, maybe screen from the center, we need to start that conversation. And if so, how would you like to model that conversation so we can have a dialogue regarding that and bring a combination of people from different areas and try to push this revolution to gain more light and more credibility to tap into some of those voters that are out there who may be on the fence or thinking Hillary but don't really know Bernie, and they're thinking Hillary because they don't know Bernie, and our job is to get them to know Bernie. What do you think about that?
I think that's a wonderful idea because if there's one kind of voting bloc that is very consistent, your main voting blocs that are consistent are things like elderly people, the white vote, and the African American vote.
Right.
The African American vote is one of the most loyal voting blocs. They vote upwards 75, 80. In 2012, I think the number was like 97% of the African American vote went for Barack Obama.
Right.
So you have one of the most powerful voting blocs that are out there. It's also, ironically, one of the more disenfranchised voting blocs. But
correct.
When you do get out that vote, it's a powerful force.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as much as I would love to get millennials on, millennials are unproven.
Exactly.
They're unreliable.
Right.
But you, the African American community, is one of the most loyal and fanatical groups that can get out there and get the vote done.
And Dave,
so finding a way to pass that on, that information on, is critical.
Right. And see, you just described what the former slave master and the former slave owner knew. He knew that his slave was basically dedicated and loyal to the slave owner. And see, that's how they don't say it now. It's really superficial, but it's there. See, those who have been involved in the process, or those who are a part of the establishment, they know one thing, and Hillary knows this. And that's why Bill tried to do what he did back in South Carolina back in 2007. He tried to play the African-American vote against an African-American because he knew that what Willie Lynch taught, that on the banks of the James River, you pitch the young against the old, the light skin against the dark skin, the male against the female, and for hundreds of years, it goes on for thousands of years. That's that slave indoctrination. And you know what, Dave? You spoke this so eloquently, and you are right on the mark. And coming from an Anglo-Saxon individual, it's funny that you actually realize and understand that the African-American vote is one of, if not the most loyal voting bloc that's out there, and the establishment knows that. So maybe we need to get with some of Bernie head people in the state, and because they're going to have to gear a message. They're going to have to bring out powerful individuals like you and I and other people, Pastor Riggins, Aaron Hopkins, Corey Jackson, Nikki Bedrick, Vanessa Gazi, and Angerio Cameron, Dr. Rita Spielman, Dr. Riley Bratton, Dr. Sally Broder, and all these other people that are coming on and talking with us. See, that's part of the revolution, Dave. And I think I wish we was close, because we would start working on this tomorrow. We need a roadmap for each individual state or caucus or primary that's coming up as to how we can tap into the African American vote. And what has happened in the past is that the black church has been the central, the nucleus of getting to the black vote. How can we frame this, Dave? And I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, and because my brain is working, it'll be working throughout the night. How can we frame this thing to where we can create this conversation, since we know that that vote is there? See, the Democrats, or the establishment part, they, in my opinion, and that's why I'm thinking about moving out, they are taking those votes for granted. I don't believe Bernie at this point is willing to take the vote for granted, because he knows that he's got to get in, and once he get in, he's going to need those same votes to go out and vote in those congressional districts. I want to know, based on what you've said, how we can get people involved, and how can we start this conversation, Dave, like ASAP, because the caucuses are coming up, and we need to make sure that we get this information out there. What are you thinking right now?
Gosh, if I had the answer to that, this would be a totally different conversation. I mean, I don't try to claim any kind of special knowledge. I am when it comes to your community, I'm an outsider. I don't know how to communicate in a way that that doesn't come off as like trying to pander or trying to manipulate people. Because when people look at me, that's the kind of thing that they might see. So I have to think that it's leaders in your community. And like you said, the Black church movement is probably the biggest organization that gets out the vote for because from what I understand, they get together buses. They do it as as a congregation, and I think that's where the key is: getting in touch with the pastors. The African American community is a very religious community, so you have to work through the religious people and get out the vote. I think that is probably your key way. Other groups, outreach groups, community organization groups, those kinds of things are probably also very good avenues. And just plain talking to people. I get on Blab. I talk to people in settings that it's appropriate to talk. I am not shy to talk to anybody regardless of what they look like. And if they tell me they're a Trump or Clinton supporter, good for them as long as they're doing the job and getting out there and vote is what I say.
Well,
on the surface.
I'll tell you, Dave. I'm looking live right now. Donald Trump responded to a jab Marco Rubio had made about the size of Trump's hand. A line widely interpreted to be a reference to Trump's manhood by promising that when it comes to the size of something else, he guarantees there's no problem. Why on God's green earth are we talking about the size of hands and penises in a presidential election, and those who are stupid enough to support this guy puts up with this kind of hypocrisy, this kind of BS? We are a laughing stock of the entire universe. What do you think about that, Dave?
Oh, I'm actually glad you mentioned this because there's an underlying theme to this. Donald Trump shows repeatedly his lack of professionalism when it comes to civil discourse. This is a man who, a magazine article was written about him concerning the size of his fingers. I don't think it alluded to his manhood, but it talked about his fingers being small. And the way Donald Trump has responded over the years, and I use the term years because that's how long it's been, he will monthly send a picture of his hand to the editor of this magazine talking about how they're not that small. So this is the kind of discourse that you're getting. Remember what I said the last time we talked. Donald Trump is running this like a game, a reality TV show. And one of the characteristics of a reality TV show star is you have to play a character. Whether it's a villain character, whether it's a loudmouth character, or a good guy. You have to play a character, and this is what Trump is doing. He's playing a character, right?
So are you saying let me not put this word in your mouth. Based on what you're saying, if he's playing for the Academy Award with regards to character, that means to me that all of his supporters, they have to be either stupid or just jokers themselves. And I'm going out on the limb to say that because if Barack Obama would have talked about his hands being big and his penis being big based on all of the fads that go with black men, this guy would have. I mean, it's not making any. Is America in this bad a shape that we would stoop to the lowest of the lowest and accept? How can anybody else from other countries respect him? How can one of these ladies or one of these women who are heads of state from another country even want to sit in the same room with this joker? Dave, can you help me understand this?
Well, when I say he's a character, I think he's playing himself as the character.
Right.
So I do think that he is playing to himself. I think he may just be exaggerating his own self when he does this. But yeah, I asked this question myself. How is anybody going to take us seriously? How is Donald Trump going to sit across the table from Putin and negotiate nuclear deals, trade deals, armament deals in Europe when he may say that he may make some sort of joke to Putin over Twitter and engage in some sort of Twitter war? I don't understand how people can accept this. I know that there is a large movement, particularly amongst white males, that have this, because they feel their privilege being taken away from them, a privilege that they see as a right. And I'm going to be honest there. I think that the white males see their rights being taken away when it's just their privilege. With that being said, someone like Donald Trump, with his politically incorrect speech, his willingness to insult people, I think that they see that as the great, to coin an old term, the great white hope. And that's what we're looking at. It's white males who are being crushed by the system. These are middle-class people. Generally speaking, good people who are getting screwed by the system just as much as anybody else. They're seeing their livelihoods getting attacked, and they sat on top for such a long time that they're lashing out. And that lashing out is in the form of Donald Trump.
Right.
And we just need to convince my people that this is not how you solve a problem. You don't solve a problem by being the biggest jerk on the block.
And Dave,
problems by negotiating.
Dave, if the guy has substance or any other thing with him, it would be okay. But he has no substance. He has no clear path. He tells the moderators, just wait and see. He's been as indefinite as anybody who has ever run for office. It's like he's a mediocre amateur that's out there trying to run for. He's out of his league. I said today that if you go to a doctor, you need a doctor, not a PhD. If you go to a mechanic, you need a real mechanic and not a shade tree mechanic. If you go to a veterinarian, you need a veterinarian. If you're running for office, you don't need a fool or entertainer that's out there running for office. And I'm going to tell you, Dave, I have always said, and my contention is this: if Trump is elected, we are electing to have World War III. What do you think?
I'm not willing to go that far just yet. I do think that Donald Trump is explosive, but it is my hope, at least, and I try to be optimistic, it is my hope that he is not a brinkmanship candidate. And that's the term we need to look at. Is Donald Trump going to push things so far? Let's take, for example, the Mexican wall. Let's play out his theory on the Mexican wall and see how that comes down. He decides that we're going to build this wall. We're going to force Mexico to pay it. Mexico refuses. Donald Trump then puts trade barriers and other restrictions which basically take that money away from Mexico and build the wall. He's next going to try and round up as many of the 14 million illegals that are in the country now and push them back into Mexico. This is the largest forced march that would ever be in U.S. history. Wars have produced less refugees moving at the same time than what Donald Trump wants to do. But if you play this out and take him at his word, he's going to march millions of people through this wall into Mexico. Mexico's going to be devastated. They're going to have no choice but to retaliate in some way, whether that's going to be militarily or through some other means that I can't discern right now. I think when you back someone into a corner, they're going to come out swinging, even if they're a teeny little guy trying to beat up someone like Andre the Giant. And Mexico could actually even go to war with the United States over that sort of mentality. So we've got to ask ourselves, is Donald Trump really serious about doing this? And does he just not see these consequences? Or is he serious and trying to put us into war after war? That's the question. Right now, we don't know. Everything that Donald Trump has said, if he's answered a question with anything but he's going to put people on it, he sometimes says things out of both sides of his mouth. Like healthcare, for instance. He wants to repeal Obamacare, but then he wants to talk about single-payer healthcare, and then he wants to also talk about selling insurance over state lines through the private market. You can't have all three of those things at the same time. So where is the real Donald Trump? That's the problem we're facing right now. Donald Trump's a jerk, but what is his real position going to be? And we don't know yet.
Which, Dave, is more dangerous than anything? If you're dealing with a man and you don't know what his next move is, that's dangerous. Okay, and I'm not willing to put myself in a dangerous situation that I have no control of. Even if Hillary is not liked, even if Bernie is a socialist, at least you have an idea of where you will be going in the country. With Trump, you have no idea, because who's to say he won't get mad, deal with one of these temper tantrums? Oh, I got power, he's used to power, and just push the damn button and let the atomic bomb go off. The guy is catastrophic. The guy is a fool. And I think I wrote last night, that we know that the devil has certain attributes. And we know that anything that's associated with the devil, and we know the devil is the author of confusion, everything that's centered around Donald Trump is confusion. So me being a believer, I don't know what anybody else is, me being a believer and using that analogy, I think Trump is the devil. I'm not going to say he's an antichrist, because I'm not the one to make that judgment. But if I said it, I would be wrong. But I can ask for forgiveness. I think the guy is the devil, and I think he's trying to lead us into total hell and or damnation. Dave, we're looking at about 9:18 p.m. Central Standard Time. You listen to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass tonight, joined by Mr. Dave Lamont from Screens from the Center. Dave, tell us in a closing statement, or a little bit before closing, what else would you like to talk about that we have not touched yet in the broadcast? Because I want to make sure we touch a variety of things before we conclude.
Well, I want to see, I'd like to start seeing people getting politically active at their local level. And I'm going to be upfront here again. I have never been much of a local politics person, but after going to the caucus, I've come to the realization that we do need to work from the bottom up. That's the only way we're going to get the movement going. And I'm happy to say the precinct that I'm now representing is unanimously decided to put forward in Colorado that the Democrat Party should support the single-payer health care plan that we have on the ballot for this November. And it's one of the keys to getting people out to vote is going to be coming up with an issue that gets people to the ballot, whether it's single-payer, whether it's medical marijuana, whether it's recreational marijuana, minimum wage, whatever your issue is. Go to your precinct. Make sure that your voice is heard. And if there's nobody representing, then take the job up yourself and make the policy, take your party and move it in the direction you need. If minimum wage is your issue, then force the Democrats at the assembly, at your monthly meeting, to adopt a policy promoting minimum wage. Because every time one of those policies is up for a ballot, it gets out the vote. It's called a wedge issue. Wedge issues are the way Republicans have won state houses and redistricting in times of censorship. That is what Democrats need to do. And the only way they can do that is if someone is there trying to make the policy the party platform. So get out there, get to your precinct, and just do something. You know, it doesn't take much effort.
We're joined, I know Pastor A.F. Riggins, co-host of Glassology 101, along with Real People, Real Life, Real Answers, along with his other program. I want to give him an opportunity. If I know, Pastor, you're working on that doctorate and you may be tired or whatever, so I do want to acknowledge that you're out there. If you want to say something, you're welcome to do so. Just say hello and we'll go it on and close out the segment. I want to give you the opportunity to say something. Pastor Riggins hails from Houston, Texas, senior pastor, founder of Real Life Church out of Houston, Texas. A.F. Riggins.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. I just, I'm tired, brother. I'm coming from feeding horses, but I've been listening to the Republican debate on Fox News on satellite. My friends are giving Donald Trump all of he can take tonight. And I think it's what we need. The race is starting to shape up to show the true colors of what's going on. They were able to bring out that he supported Jimmy Carter, gave money to Jimmy Carter, gave money to Bill Clinton, gave money to John Kerry, gave money over $100,000 4 times. He gave money to Hillary Clinton. All of a sudden, you want to be a Republican. They were able to bring out all the different things that Romney set him up for tonight, and basically saying he's flip-flopped. He's an opportunist. If he would have had an opportunity, he would have ran as a Democrat, but the opportunities came as Republican. And they're peeling back the layers tonight. So whoever we nominate, whether it be Hillary or Bernie, we sit in the cat seat with this situation because Donald Trump is the Republican Party is supposed to see to let him in there. Now that's something they don't want. Yes, sir. That's something they don't want.
Okay. I know we just been joined by Dr. Rita Spilkins out of Springfield, Missouri. Dr. Spilkins, do you have anything you'd like to add before we close out the segment?
Yes, if you have a moment.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Spilkins. We got about 7 minutes left.
Good evening, gentlemen. I was listening to the program, and I got a wave of nausea passing over me, and it brought back memories of what I've read about pre-war Germany and Hitler. And Hitler was a very interesting guy. He was drummed out of politics several times. He landed up in jail. He was almost murdered in jail, but a guardsman saved his behind, only to have him come back again and again and again until he got the ear of the German people. And from there, the scenario is very like what's happening here in the United States. There's a lot of discontent. The politicians have been very selfish, and instead of being a democracy, we don't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. We have an oligarchy. Mm-hmm. We have people voting what, supposedly our representatives that vote the way they want to vote, not the way the will of the people. And I swear, if we had a pure democracy back, and it was a vote by ballot of the people, it would be totally different. Now, it's every man for himself, and we've gotten away from helping others. It's help yourself, and it's a whole different mindset. Politics is only a reflection, or our behavior is only a reflection of what we're seeing in Washington. The divisiveness, selfishness, and, I think this country, and you've said this, Barron, I've said this many times, and that is a house divided will fall. We don't need an ISIS coming in here because we're doing enough damage to ourselves, seriously. And I have a terrible fear that this will escalate. And Trump brings out the worst in people. The angriness, the anger, the selfishness, the greed, that people don't have enough. And the politicians turn around and vote themselves more money. I mean, we've got to start looking at what we're doing in the upper echelon and how it's filtering down. And it's not a pretty sight.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We've heard from Dr. Rita Spilkins, screens from the center, Mr. Dave Lamont, my good co-host out there, A.F. Riggins, senior pastor, founder. We got about 4 minutes left. I know we got Montgomery, Louisiana out there. Mr. Larry Bell, are you interested in giving a comment? I know we got Columbia, Louisiana out there. Anybody else out there on the line want to give a comment in the last 4 minutes? you may do so. Okay, judging by action, we have none. I want to thank all the listeners that are out there. We're going to talk more about this on Monday night. Pastor Riggins, I would love to get you, Aaron Hopkins, Corey Jackson, Nikki Bedrick, Dr. Spilkin, along with Dave Lamont, because we need to have a casual conversation, regardless as to whether we're on Hillary's side or Bernie's side. We need to make sure that we are not on Donald Trump's side or any of those other Republicans that are out there. Like I said, John Kasich is the only one that I know that's out there that talks a little logic with a little common sense. I'm not supporting him. I'm not advocating for him. However, I must give credit where credit is due. Right now, like I said, we're listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. I got a text message out there. They said that is so true, Dr. Spilkin, on the live web. We want to make sure that we acknowledge everybody that's out there, whether you're on the blog, whether you're out there listening on the telephone line, whether you go back and listen to the archive. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight we've been talking about Super Tuesday's over. Where do we go from here? And we know where we go if Donald Trump is elected. We're either going to go to hell or something that's close to hell. So we want to make sure that we get everybody to get involved, get the African-American vote out there to vote, get the millennials out there to vote, and get everybody else out there to vote. So we want to make sure that when we go home each and every night, that we've done something on social media or whatever to either inspire, encourage, or engage those who are non-voters to get them to become a part of the political process, because if we don't get them involved, I'm afraid that Donald Trump is going to end up doing exactly what he wants to do, which is control, which is like oppression, which is all of this power, and that takes us back at least 50 years, if not beyond. Thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour Global Radio. Thanks to everybody who paid a portion to the show tonight and listening. Dave Lamont, let us know about Screens from the Center. We got about 2 minutes. Your next broadcast, and Pastor Riggins, let us know about your next broadcast. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I broadcast regularly Wednesday nights on Blab at 9 p.m. Mountain Time. I think that's late enough to avoid Pastor Riggins' show. And I basically have a monologue, and then I open the seats up to people coming in, and we discuss whatever happens. We have a conversation for about an hour, hour and a half, and then we move on. I post up at Streams from the Center on YouTube. The repeats of those labs are there, and videos that I make. I am also at Twitter at DM Lamont or Screens FD Center. Okay,
AF Riggins, go ahead.
Yes, sir. On Sunday night, I have Wrap It Up Live with Pastor A.F. Riggins, 8 p.m. Standard Time. However, I believe this Sunday night they're going to be having a Democratic debate in Flint, Michigan, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. So I'm going to try to request a platform of Americans. Can I do it at 7 p.m. Central Time? I think that's when the debate starts.
Okay.
And then I want to have a debate watch party. So I would invite you all to come back to and so we can actually be watching the debate and discussing the debate. And because I know we're very passionate about Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and I like the passion because either one of them that wins, I want them to go and take on Donald Trump or any other Republican. So I'll be on Facebook and other ways informing how we're gonna what time we're gonna start according to when the debate starts.
Okay.
Debate watch party on Sunday night.
Okay, we're now going into overdrive. We want to make sure that everybody becomes a part of the process. Thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, and I'm going to end it by saying good night, and may everybody have a wonderful night. Good night.